Hello, all you happy people. Sorry, the camera's really shaky today. Just thought I would hop on here and say hello. It's been a while. It's been a minute. Sorry about that. It's been, a crazy couple of months. Crazy busy. Lots of stuff going on. So, did want to kind of update everybody. Just wanted to let you know, my garden didn't do good this year. So, those of you that are struggling, girl, I feel you. Boy, I feel you. It's been a rough year. For me, the biggest problem has been lack of sunlight. Not that it's not been sunny here in Georgia. It just, the property that I'm on just doesn't have a ton of sunlight in the areas where it's beneficial to grow vegetables. So I'm just kind of having to change up my game plan a little bit, and I'm trying to nurse a few things along that I'm hoping will give us a late summer harvest. Really hoping we'll get a late summer harvest. And then I'll try again with my tower garden in a couple more weeks. Part of the problem with the tower garden is I never got nutrients, so it's really just been plain water that's been going over those roots, and everything's struggling. You just think if all you ever drank was water and never ate a thing, then you would be weak and struggling and probably wouldn't survive long either. So I did lose several of my plants in the tower garden. Several of them are really struggling. Usually this time of year, I'm used to the tower garden just being like not even being able to see the tower. But I'll take you down there in just a second and show you how much everything's struggling. But I am up at the front of the house today, and I actually was doing a few things. And I was going to bring you along, but again, camera setup is not where I want it to be yet. It's just going to take a little bit longer to get all of that in place, but just wanted to show you what I've been up to. In the basement apartment, I actually grew some basil, or sprouted some basil and marigolds, and I actually went ahead, filled this pot up. I actually just got garden soil. Everybody will tell you, do not use garden soil in your pots because it's not sterilized. I don't really care. I've never really had a ton of problems using garden soil. And to be completely honest, it's $2 or $3 cheaper per bag. Actually, it's less. It's half the price of a bag of container soil. So, I refuse to pay more if I don't have to. So this actually is garden soil. It's top dressed with worm castings. And so I went ahead and bought worm castings. At some point in the future, I'm going to have my own worm bin and have my own worm castings. But right now, it's just not the time. I may start that next spring. So in this container is marigolds on this side, basil on this side. Everything had sprouted. I went ahead and covered everything up completely. I am going to have a little bit of wash out of that soil out of the container. I always do, whether I'm watering or whether it rains, and some of it washes out. So I'm not terribly worried about it. They all had deep tap roots, so I think they will actually do pretty well. This area gets a little bit of sun on sunny days, so hopefully those will sprout back up in the next couple of days and do really well for me. And then in this little container here, I had a spearmint plant. This is spearmint. For those of you who don't know, you always want to grow your mint in containers. Even if you're planning on putting it in a bed, you want to get a container that's going to contain the roots of that mint, or else it will spread throughout your entire garden and take over everything. So I've seen people take clay pots and put their mint in clay pots and bury the clay pot in the ground. Or even you can have it to where the very lip of the clay pot is sticking up out of the ground. That looks super cute in a lot of gardens. But I've also got a little tomato companion in here with that. That's one of the reasons I planted marigolds in that, because marigolds are a companion plant to tomatoes. I just happened to have a spearmint that needed a home, so the spearmint went in and then the tomato went in. This is actually tomato from a plant that we had planted in this front bed, and the homeowner, Todd, my friend Todd, went in and removed a lot of trees that were starting to grow up in here. We've still got a lot of work to do on this crazy jungle. All of these are wildflowers, and You know, there's a lot of other little things. I do not know what that is. I want to say it's lamb's quarter, but I'm not 100%. And then he just brought home a lot of hostas and just kind of threw them in. And that's what he does. He brings stuff home from his projects and he just winds up throwing them in and letting them do what they want. And then we get a wild jungle. At some point, he's going to probably take out one of these trees, if not two, and probably limb up several of them just to get more sunlight into this bed. This bed has done fairly well in the past. I think what we're probably going to wind up doing is just ripping out most of this and rebuilding everything. He wants to put a plastic liner down to hold in the moisture, hold in the water, and then rebuild the whole thing. So we'll kind of take you along with that if we can as we do it. But again, that tomato came out of the plant it got knocked over when he was pulling stuff out. Sorry, the garbage people are here. Sorry about that. Sorry about the noise. But that came out of one of the tomato plants, and I'll take you over and show you what everything else looks like. So this one kind of got ripped a little, bent over, broken a little bit. We had neglected it and didn't do a lot with it. So it actually has some fruit on it. I don't know if that fruit will get bigger and ripen. This, if I remember correctly, is a Sweet 100. It's either a Sweet 100 or it's a citrus, one of the citrus varieties of tomatoes. I can't remember exactly which, but I'm super excited. Hopefully we'll get some late summer tomatoes on that. So this one I actually just top dressed with some worm castings and just watered it in really well. And then this one got completely broken off. I do not think this one will wind up surviving. I will tell you there is absolutely zero rootstock underneath all this soil, but I'm hoping that the more I water it, that it will grow more rootstock. So fingers crossed. Normally I would do that in a cup of water first, take some time to grow the roots up, and then plant it. But I just don't have that much time left in the growing season. So, you know, we've only got, it's the first week of August. We've got 2.5 more months before our first frost. First frost is usually November 15th. So 2.5 more months. And I mean, honestly, these things, once we consistently have nights in the 50s and 60s, they're not going to survive anyway. So, and then we've still got zucchini and squash. I do not know which one is which because I did not label them when we put them in. Thought we had lost this one, but it was just that lack of water. So it's actually coming back really well. Just top dressed these with the worm castings. And then these two, that one is a Cherokee Purple. That one's another, I believe it's another Sweet 100. Those two, just actually, I pulled them out of I just pulled them out of the tower garden. They had really great root systems on them. And I just, I just pulled them out of there and put them in the ground. And then I top dressed them today with worm castings so that they would have a good chance at survival. So just real quick, just wanted to show you what I got. I actually got everything from Home Depot today, whenever I can. This is all natural organic garden soil. To be able to be called organic, it has to meet a lot of different it has to go through a lot of different tests to be able to be considered organic. They can't use any pesticides or herbicides or anything like that. So if this has got any pesticides or herbicides in it, then it is truly not organic. But like I said, to be able to get that organic label, they have to meet a lot of different requirements. And then, so I got 2 cubic feet bags of those, 2 cubic feet in each bag. I used about 2/3 of a bag on the pots, and then I put a little bit around the bed up there. The rest is going to go behind the house. I'm going to try to grow some root vegetables behind the house. It doesn't get sun, so I probably won't be successful, but fingers crossed, maybe something will happen. And then this is the earthworm castings. Again, it's organic soil enriched earthworm castings, so again, should be perfectly fine as far as like you know, not having any herbicides or pesticides in them. So here's fingers crossed that everything works out well. I do know several gardeners who have gotten local compost, or you know, he brought compost in from other sources this year, and they've been contaminated. And these are supposed to be like certified organic compost companies, and they wind up bringing in compost from other places, and they're not organic, and they've had pesticides in them. And unfortunately, it's not anything that can be tested for. These pesticides or herbicides that are being used, there's no test for them. The only way to test if it's an herbicide is to plant your plants, and then if they die, they die. And that's really unfortunate. A lot of gardeners have lost their gardens because of that. So I'm hoping that buying from a big box company like Home Depot and buying organic, that I'm not going to wind up with any of those problems. We'll see how it goes. A lot of it, you know, there's a lot of, they've got a lot of things against them. Lack of sunlight being one of them. Well draining soil, unfortunately, sometimes can be detrimental in a raised bed to a degree. But we'll see. We'll see how everything goes. But I did want to also show you, just, you know, my tower is really struggling. Normally, like I said, normally you can barely see the tower underneath the plants. But honestly, a lot of these plants are the same size they were when I planted them 3 months ago. So they really aren't doing that well. Consequently, that little tomato or strawberry plant up top, it's doing okay, but it's not doing great. But my little raised, this is a little strawberry planter. Those are doing great. My pothos has been outside because I don't have a place to hang it inside yet. So the pothos is doing fantastic. It's actually winding its way down here. There's another strawberry. That was wildflowers at one point. I think it's all pretty much weeds now. Nothing flowered this year, so pretty much weeds at this point. And this bed is covered in weeds. It did have some strawberry plants in it at one point, but it's just covered in weeds. I'm going to take this one, probably this one, and then there are a couple over around the side of the house that have some soil in them. I'm going to top dress this. This is some lilies, some really pretty lilies. I'm going to top dress that, fill up that pot so it's fuller, and you know, help that along a little bit. But then I've got these pots back here that have some, it's just nothing. Now that is a mum that I bought 3 years ago, and it keeps coming back every year. It did bloom earlier in the year, and it's actually got blossoms on it now. I need to move these out. And the soil in these, except for the mum, is actually going to go down. It's going to go down in these beds. Again, guys, I know I have no sunlight in these beds, but I'm going to try. I'm really going to try. Like, I'm not planting in this bed up here because this is a big hydrangea, which we need to trim back. We've decided we're going to trim back all the hydrangeas this year. But then this bed here. And I'm going to put up a fence around it so that the chickens and ducks don't get in it. So is the garden plan for right now. That down there is going to be, hopefully, beets and radish. Beets and radish take 30 to 60 days to mature. If they do well, then I'll have time before frost to do another succession of beets and radish. And if those do well, I'll have even more time. And I can actually probably grow beets and radish, any root vegetables, throughout the year, really, because we don't ever really get a hard freeze like in below 30 for more than a day or two. Typically, here in Northeast Georgia, it just, you know, it's rare for us to get more than 2 or 3 days of hard cold weather. Even when we get snow, it lasts a day, maybe 2. We occasionally will have it stick around for a week. But that's the joy of living where we live. We have longer growing seasons. We have typically better growing environments. So we'll see how all that goes. And I'll take you along a little bit as things start to spring up. Make sure that you're following me on Facebook and Instagram. I do post on there a little bit more often than I've been posting here. But as always, guys, I promise you that I will try to do better. I'll try to start putting out weekly videos for you guys so you can see the progression of how everything's coming along. And I will to take you along as we go through revamping this crazy area up here and see how absolutely beautiful we can make it with just a little bit of hard work and sweat. So I will see you guys next time. Have a great day. Bye.